As the US-Israel war with Iran enters 8th day, let's take a quick recap of some of the latest developments in West Asia that we are tracking for you. Explosions lit up the skies over western Tehran early Saturday as Israeli fighter jets carried out heavy strikes on the Iranian capital. Iranian state media reported blasts in the city's western districts. Israel confirmed it had launched a broad-scale offensive on government sites in Tehran. Saudi Arabia says it has intercepted a ballistic missile fired at an airbase southeast of the capital Riyadh, as Iran pressed attacks across the Gulf. The Saudi Defense Ministry posted on X that a ballistic missile launched towards Prince Sultan Air Base was intercepted and destroyed. This is the second big Iranian strike on Saudi Arabia in the last 10 hours. Earlier, Saudi Arabia's defense ministry said it intercepted and destroyed a cruise missile near the central Al-Kharaj area. US President Donald Trump declared that the US military campaign against Iran is progressing very well, insisting that only Tehran's unconditional surrender would end the escalating conflict. Speaking at the White House, Trump claimed Iran's army, navy, communications and leadership have been largely destroyed. His remarks came as global oil prices surged amid fears of supply disruptions linked to the intensifying West Asia war. A US Air Force C-5 Galaxy military transporter landed at RAF Fairford in southwest England as the West Asia conflict escalates. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer authorized American use of 2 British bases for what he described as a specific and limited defensive purpose, and initially rejecting involvement in the US-Israeli war against Iran. Houthi supporters staged a rally in Sana'a, Yemen, voicing solidarity with Iran and Lebanon as regional tensions rise. In a televised speech, the Iran-backed Houthi leader warned that his group was prepared to launch strikes at any given movement, signaling a potential escalation in the conflict. And to discuss more, we were earlier joined by Greg Swenson. He is an international affairs expert. Listen into what he had to say.
Well, it's a great question. I think dialogue is always helpful, and I think there's no risk or downside for having conversations or discussions. And if the Saudis can mediate some sort of conversation or discussion between the U.S. and Iran, great. But I think at this point, Iran is practically defeated. The overwhelming, I'll call it asymmetric advantage that the U.S. and Israel have over Iran is something that we did not expect. I thought this would be a little bit more competitive in a way, and yet, the Iranians or the regime will fire missiles randomly, but they're firing a lot fewer missiles now than they were 4 days ago, and so I'm not sure that there's any discussion to be had except unconditional surrender. It's uncomfortable for the countries in the region because they have missiles being fired at them. And I don't want to underestimate, or I don't want to suggest that that's not unpleasant. However, the entire region is now on board with the U.S. and with Israel. I think the only option for Iran, or specifically for the regime, is to surrender unconditionally. But I'm afraid that would be unfair to the Iranian people. So we, meaning the U.S. and Israel and the other allies in the region, Saudi Arabia, UAE, et cetera, they can eliminate the nuclear capabilities of Iran. They can eliminate the ballistic missiles. They can eliminate the Navy, which the U.S. has practically done already. And they can also eliminate the funding of the proxies. So these were the terrorist proxies. These were all the goals of the U.S. during the negotiations, which the regime refused to negotiate on. So at this point, even if we had all of those concessions from the regime, you still have to worry about the people of Iran who have to live in the regime and be controlled by the mullahs. Only less than 15% of Iranians actually support the regime or the mullahs. So I'm not sure at this point there's any turning back. It would be, I would argue, unjust for the people of Iran if we started negotiating on terms now that could have been negotiated peacefully 2 weeks ago or even a week ago. So, this is it's still early in the process. We all would prefer a peaceful negotiation or a peaceful off ramp, but at this point, we are thinking about the people of Iran as well.